Most people have to head to the ATM when they need some readies. Andy Stewart simply has to run his superstar hurdler, Big Bucks. All being well, Big Bucks will notch up a 19th consecutive victory on December 22 at Ascot in the long walk hurdle. Big Bucks joins Daring Rose, Barracuda and My Way to Solzen as the only horses to have landed the long walk and world hurdle in the same campaign. But the long walk usually attracts classy warriors.
They have a ding-dong battle at the end of almost 3 1/4 miles. Richard Dunwoody is forcing Principal's Head in front, and he is just going to win this long walk hurdle.
It's Anthem now in tremendous style, getting a great reception from the crowd here at Ascot. And Anthem up towards the line, he's as good as he's ever been.
They head towards the final flight. He's steering right away, Barracuda. He's hopped over the last in very good style. He's shaken up on the run-in, but the Canter Index long walk hurdle is won in great style by Barracuda.
So long walk's just around the corner, Andy. How excited can you get about seeing Big Bucks in that race?
I'm afraid every race that I see him I get more and more excited, purely on the basis that there's always the pressure that, you know, it's going to be the one time he gets beaten, because he's going to get beaten one day, isn't he, Matt?
Well, presumably he will, although of course I guess he could retire unbeaten. So while the general public are sort of thinking all he's got to do is turn up, your emotion is very different to that.
Yeah, because, you know, there's these horses that are entered in the race, albeit on the official handicap mark, have got quite a bit to find, but you know, they do find it occasionally. I mean, horses do get beaten, and going right-handed is a slight concern, but he managed to do it okay last year. Of course, the 2 previous years it had been either frozen off or rained off, and they went to Newbury, which you know, he quite likes, except for fluffing his lines in the Hennessy 4 years ago. He quite likes Newbury. Yeah, we get anxious, and Paul and I sort of sit head in a corner and whatever it is, and Ruby says, "Why don't you just relax, you guys?"
So is it almost a feeling of relief rather than enjoyment, or is it a mixture of the two?
Oh, a mixture of the two. You know, been in the game for a long time. Never had a horse like this beforehand. Never will, Matt. So, you know, if you don't enjoy it, there's something wrong with you.
For JP McManus, they won this race with Barracuda a few years ago. Blue Canyon wins the National Copeland.
On the morning of December the 22nd, will you wake up with butterflies? Will you be up even earlier than normal? How do you gear yourself up on the day?
I think what I'll do is I'll get up very, very early, and as there's a 4-hour time difference in Barbados, I'll phone the wife and wake her up in the middle of the night there and saying, "So I can't find the milk."
Just an average day in the life of Andy Stewart. Tell us about the horse, though, Andy. First of all, your racing colours, the red sleeves, the white and black halves. How did those come about?
Well, we were originally started off National Hunt with Kim Bailey, and Kim's a good friend, and he said, "You've got to have some colours." So I said to Judy, "Can you design the colours?" And her favourite colours were white, red and black. And she's quite artistic, so she played around with that, and now that's what we got stuck with.
And what sort of year did you start owning racehorses?
That would be, in partnership, that would be about 20 years ago. And entirely, it would have been 15 years ago with Senkos.
And was it always a passion of you, horse racing?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I got expelled from school for going off to Marks Day point to point. I was at a minor boarding school and public school in Essex, and unfortunately I kept on running into the headmaster, and of course being in the beer tent when you're only 16 years of age, when I was meant to be playing golf, didn't go down terribly well, so they asked me to leave.
Because you are, I think it's fair to say, an eccentric owner. Would that be fair?
Well, I don't think I'm as eccentric as...
you are pretty eccentric.
I don't jump on the back of the horse with Ruby and what have you, which Anthony does. But I suppose I'm not straightforward in anything I do in my life. I mean, I think everybody's a character. You know, I mean, is there a norm for a National Hunt owner? I don't think so. I mean, there's some real characters in it. I mean, I think, you know, Vida, who won the Grand National with Mon Mame, you know, she's one of the best bridge players in the world. And when I went up there, we had My Will, who was the favourite in it. And she said to me, she said, "I don't know why I'm coming here. Venetia is completely mad." And of course, Ruby was looking at Tony McCoy, and we were at Timmy Murphy, and along came young Liam Treadwell and had a 100-to-1 winner of the Grand National. Is that eccentric? Is she eccentric? I don't think so.
Your purchase of Big Bucks, how did that come about?
Yet again, my great bloodstock friend and agent Anthony Bromley. We bought a lot of horses from France, and he had been in France and had been at the races at Ortiz, and he phoned me up and said we should buy this horse, and I said it's far too much money. It didn't win the race, etc. And then, but more realistically, Paul Nicholls, not just for the sake of it, but we went through and had a look at the form. And I do a lot of form analysis before I buy horses. And I agreed. So eventually, after a bit of argy-barging, French francs, euros or whatever it is, we agreed to buy it. And he came over, and we either run them very quickly when they come over or they give them a break. So we gave him a little bit of a break. And he turned up in his first race at Newbury and beat the Queen's horse.
It's quite interesting when you look back through his form, because he got beat quite a lot of times before he sort of got off the mark over in France. And as you say, looked good in a Grade 2 hurdle at Auteuil. This is back in May 2007 when he won. Then he was second in the Grade 1 at Auteuil. And as you say, came to beat the Queen at Newbury. I mean, a great start in many ways, but then again, you have just beaten the Queen.
Well, that was the problem. And Nicky Henderson said, you've just beaten Barbershop. You know it's owned by the Queen. I said, yes, I do notice the colours. So he said, right, off to the tower, off with your head. And but we all had a drink. And the Queen actually remarked on it when I had the honour of actually meeting her at the anniversary of the 300 years of the Royal Ascot.
And that was a chase, of course, because he'd been running over hurdles in France. And you went chasing again at Newbury. This was on the 29th December 2007, we're going back now. You're beaten by Moon Over Miami. I imagine Charlie Mann was pretty happy with that.
Well, in actual fact, Charlie came down in the just as we were saddling up and very jocularly said, oh, you're going to find out in a moment how why you've lost all your money, all your big bucks on Big Bucks. So Paul Nicholls said, as he normally did, you must be joking, you might as well start now. And he duly beat us.
He did indeed. You look a promising horse, though. You go to Warwick and finish third behind Kruger Rover, who you had beaten previously at Newbury. Then you go to Cheltenham, you're seventh behind Finger on the Pulse. But you hit Aintree in a Grade 2 novice chase, and you smash up Battle Cry by 2 1/4 lengths, showing that you are going to be a proper chaser at this stage for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. You know, I mean, I think there was a bit of a confusion as far as the Cheltenham. That was when the Jewson was a handicap, and it was probably the wrong distance. And obviously, when he went to the Grade 2 at Aintree, he did beat the Royal Sun Alliance winner, who came third behind Battle Cry, Alberta's run. So that probably should have been the route. But Paul doesn't like running 5-year-olds, bar Star de Maison and loads of other ones in the Royal Sun Alliance.
Sam Thomas gets a lot of stick for being unseated in the Hennessy, but we should remember he was on board when you defeated Barber's Shop, so he did win on Big Bucks. So you're unseated in the Hennessy, and yet the next time you turn up in a handicap hurdle in January at Cheltenham. How did that process come about?
That process came about that after we had had nothing wrong with Sam, the people do unseat, and that was unfortunate, but it probably turned out to be very fortunate. Sam's a very, very good jockey. And the next thing I do is on my mobile phone, Weatherby's entry, Big Bucks in a 3-mile handicap hurdle at Cheltenham. So I phoned up Weatherby's and said, you made a mistake. I said, no, we haven't. So I phoned up Paul Nicholls and he said, I've only put it in to have a look. And of course, eventually he persuaded me to go for it, giving weight all around to Don't Push It, who had come second to Denman, who had beaten My Far Blur, who had won the juvenile at Chepstow on Welsh Grand National Days all those years ago. And, well, I mean, the rest is history.
Is it fair to say that you could have thought Paul Nicholls was off his rocker heading for a hurdle campaign?
I said that he was bonkers, and when I was actually asked by the Racing Post for a comment on it before the race, etc., I said, well, as Paul Nicholls would say, might as well start now. Paul Nicholls has gone bonkers.
Now you're going for a 19th consecutive victory, 4 world hurdles already in the bag. It's been one hell of a journey.
It's been great fun, and it's been it's marvellous. I mean, just at Newbury last Saturday, I mean, the kids are there to be taking photographs on their mobile phones and asking me to sign their programmes and all that. I mean, I think it's just phenomenally good. You know, it's never going to be able to replace a Corto Star because he's not a chaser, but he's starting to get the imagination of the public. When I bought the goat came in chucked in, and I said, well, do we want the goat? And Rose Loxton said, we want to keep the goat. He loves the goat. And when the goat was confiscated, we got another goat at Ditch Cheat.